Hey everybody, welcome to the Faith and Fandom podcast. This is the Artists Alley Aftermath edition for Greenville, North Carolina Comicon 2025. Hope you are all doing well, and that wherever you are as you take time to listen to this, that you're doing okay, and that when we're done today, or whenever you listen to this, that you're encouraged and in a better place than when we started. So, yeah, that's what I hope for. It's what I'm praying for, and hope that's the reality for you. This is, I think, my first show after GalaxyCon, which means it's kind of like my breather show after doing a big show. And even now, my dog just like barked in its sleep. Even now, I'm still like dealing with stuff from GalaxyCon, not in a negative way, but like literally as I sat down to record this, I just got an email from someone just sharing some encouragement and stuff that they had from GalaxyCon. So it's one of those shows that just keeps on having involvement, and I'm grateful for. But yeah, Greenville, North Carolina is one of those shows that is kind of no muss, no fuss. It's not necessarily, as I realized, and I sometimes forget, and I sure if I go back and listen, it's not like a successful show for me in terms of sales or anything like that. In fact, it's probably one of the easiest break-even shows, just because it costs so little to do it. But even with a little cost, I'm not usually likely to make enough sales to be financially justifiable. But still, when has that ever stopped me? But I like going to Greenville. I've got connections there. I've got relationships and stuff to that community that kind of make it a homecoming in essence to go back to. So I am grateful to be able to be there and be a part of it, even when it's not like crazy viable per se. But yeah, it's a good show to do. It's right there at the Greenville Convention Center, so it's an easy load in, load out. There's a couple hotels in the parking lot, although they changed their policies this year on the hotels in the parking lot, which actually made it kind of harder to get a hotel connected to the show, but it's whatever. But yeah, so that being said, it's been a good show. It's been a good time, and I am grateful to be a part of it. This year was pretty standard par for the course in a lot of ways. I went down the night before because even though it's a one-day show, they typically only allow you to load in from 12 to 4, which I don't know if you know, but that's not a great amount of time to load in, especially if you've got to travel or do anything like that. So I typically make it an experience of trying to get there with enough time to actually just breathe and set up without being rushed. And then I'll just go crash in my hotel and rest from there. So that's usually kind of what I do and how I go down with that. So it's what I did this time. Got there, took my time and set up. And then after I was done setting up, and setup was fine. I will stand on this hill and die on this hill to be able to say that an 8-foot table makes all the difference. Working with a 6-foot table is not where it's at. And an 8-foot table literally gives you the best space to be able to actually display things and move and breathe, and it makes me sad every time I go back to a 6-foot table after an 8-foot table show. But it is what it is, and even in most cases I can't afford 8-foot tables. But I'm grateful for my experiences, and I'm going to complain less when it comes to these things. Got set up, put it all together, and was next to a friend of mine who helped me at GalaxyCon as well. And so I actually got to be around some more of my friends just in that capacity, which was nice. And I was across from friends. I got to see a lot of people that, are par for the course people I deal with on a regular basis when it comes to the cons. And so got set up, went back to my hotel room, and I played Donkey Kong for a while because I had to wait on a work call. The college that I work for was having a bit of an emergency in advertising, which is not a real thing, but apparently it is because that makes me have to wait to do stuff. And but they were having an emergency in advertising, so I had to go and kind of wait in my hotel for them to make decisions and approve flyers and promote things. And then once all that was done, I went out and got some food, and I wanted to go somewhere local. Not a chain restaurant, because why travel around the state if you're just gonna, or the world in general, if you're just gonna eat the same fast food or whatever that you can eat other places. So I went to a place that I looked up online. And I'll do the same thing that other people do, or I'll go look based on like what Yelp or not, is it Travelocity, or I don't know, it's one of the green places when you look things up. But either way, I went and looked, and was just like, where should I go? And one of the best restaurants in Greenville, according to something guy, TripAdvisor, that's what I'm thinking of. According to TripAdvisor, one of the best places to go in Greenville is a place called Sup Dogs. And it literally is just like the pun of Sup Dog, like from The Office. And so I went to Sup Dog, and it is a hot dog and smash burger place. And literally when you walk in, there's a sign on the wall that says it smells like Up Dog in here, which, is perfect and made me laugh. Got some good food, got a smash burger and some fries, and it was nice because it was actually kind of like a college restaurant, and just sitting there watching college students do their thing was, a fun experience, because that is not my life. Then I went and walked down to an Insomnia cookie to get some cookies, or actually just got one cookie because I'm trying to not die and live my life a little bit better. And so I went to Insomnia Cookie and got a cookie there. And when I was walking back, I noticed, and I saw this place earlier when I was playing Pokemon Go, that there was a building out there that had a really cool spaceship on the side of it. And I wanted to find where that spaceship was painted. And so I found it on the way back from walking to Insomnia Cookies. And as I'm walking back, I see the spaceship. So I pull up my phone and I start taking pictures. I was not minding my surroundings well enough. And here's why I say that. As I'm taking pictures, two ladies, start crossing the street in my general direction, and a woman very, very loudly and with a lot of stank in the voice, the attitude, not ugly, just like, excuse me, like that, like a little sauce to it. A woman starts saying, "Why are you taking pictures?" And then she yelled it a little bit louder, "Why are you taking pictures?" And, she was dressed like she was going to the club, and they had been out and enjoying their evening. And it appeared that I was like taking photos of them from across the street when literally I was taking photos of the spaceship behind them. And I sounded like the most absolute dweeb on the planet because I literally just pointed over her shoulder. I said, "Spaceship?" And she turned around and she looked and she saw like my Heroes Con t-shirt and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Just walked away. She's like, "You never know, people be doing stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, I got you. No harm, no foul." Um, but literally, like, she was about to come for my head because she thought I was like trying to sneak photos of her while she was crossing the street. But like, so be cautious with your cameras, ladies and gentlemen. Um, I got my cookie and went back to the hotel and kind of passed out. Uh, got up the next morning and went to the show, started getting everything ready for it, and kind of went right on in. I realized that since the last show, I've watched K-pop Demon Hunter, and I wanted to draw some sketches from K-pop Demon Hunter. So that was going to kind of be my goal for the day, and so I started drawing sketches. Some were better than others, in full disclosure. But I did my sketches. I talked to people, and they came by. There was a monstrously large Huggy Wuggy like horror character from YouTube that was walking around being creepy and screaming at loud volumes. So that was a thing. Um, and so a mom and her kid had come by the booth. And shout out to Ben, shout out to Chris at Dragon's Lair. I have a large quantity of Pokemon cards that I'm giving out to kids at shows since GalaxyCon. And as I'm giving out these Pokemon cards to this little boy, and the dude in the Huggy Wuggy costume comes up, and he's like being super loud, and it's scary. And this little boy's about to like this little boy looks shaken, and like I hadn't started the process of giving him Pokemon cards. I was like, "Hey, would you like some Pokemon cards?" And like literally that ability to just give that kid some Pokemon cards in that moment probably saved the day, because that kid was probably a smidge away from having a small meltdown. So thank you, Ben. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody that gave cards, because you helped keep a little boy from having nightmares. But I kept going. The Pokemon cards were a big hit at this show. A lot between kids and teenagers. I was able to give a good chunk of them away. And one little kid rolled a nat 20, and so I gave them like a literal fistful of Pokemon cards, and it made their whole show. Then I had a mom that came by, and she was looking at the booth, and she's like, "Is this mocking God?" And I'm like, "No, ma'am." And like, she didn't think so at first, but then when she saw the "thou shalt not be a turd" thing, she thought it might be mocking God. And I was like, "No, I just think that's funny." And then we started talking, and it turns out she is the wife of a church planter who's actually part of the same church plant organization that I partner with sometimes, and that the church my church is kind of linked to. And so it turns out that we've probably been at the same church planter conferences, and that we've been in the same places and all this stuff. And literally we met at a Comic-Con, but I've probably been at the events that were like launching her church when it was getting planted. So it was neat. Was able to make a good connection there. I also had a young lady that came by. She said, "You're my dad's friend." And it's a family that I had known from a long time ago, like 20 years ago. And her father had come by Geek Church and stuff at GalaxyCon and a few other places. And so we were able to kind of connect there a little bit more. But yeah, good interactions with people, good encouragement. Was able to, some of the other vendors came by to get books, that stuff they hadn't gotten before. There was also a Giant Gorilla. I've got Giant Gorilla in my notes, and I don't know why. Oh no, it was not Giant Gorilla. It's Giant Godzilla. There was a Giant Godzilla cosplayer too. That was pretty amazing. One cool thing for the show was that I got to see Matari Bane, who is a dude that I started out with doing shows. Um, and when we started at the Lumberton Mall together. And then he kind of grew up to be like a big, bad dude um, in terms of the art world. And he's kind of had to take some detours with it and everything. But it was nice to be back at a show with him. So appreciated that. Another conversation I got to have was with Joe Lisi, who's a dude that another great artist that I get to do stuff with at shows, and we had some really good heart to hearts. He started doing F3, which is like a fitness and men's fellowship and ministry type program, and he's really like gotten shredded from doing that. But also, we got in a long conversation about just being tired and how exhausting con life is, and that how con life now is not what it used to be, and like the whole attitude and atmosphere and the vibe has changed, and um, it was like, we definitely were feeling some of the same things. And but it's good to be able to, sometimes it's as 21 Pilot says, either way it helps to hear these words echo off of you, um or the words bounce off of you. Yeah, sorry, misquoted the lyric. But it's nice to be able to hear. And, I heard it from several other people. It's just people that are kind of losing their fire to keep being at shows. And that's coming from people who are doing this just to make money. So also, I know, coming from an attitude of someone who's trying to do this in ministry, it's exhausting too. Um, there was a good boba place right out front. So that was nice. Bubble duck tea, I believe it was. And I had a coffee horchata boba. Um, let's see. My friend Deborah Lanham, Litmus Cosplay, came by and sat, and we talked and hashed out some life stuff for about like an hour and a half. And so it was good to see her. One of my friends from high school, Donna, came by and got to see her for a little bit. And got to see just people who are kind and compassionate, and I got to have some ministry conversations with people. And then one of the probably strongest cosplay or conversations that I had for the night um, was a woman came up to the booth and she says, faith and fandom, I didn't think those two things could be together. I thought, those things had to be separate. And she's like, how does that work? And, this is a conversation I have pretty regularly. And so I said, well, tell me something you love and you're really into. Because usually I'll ask somebody and they'll tell me an anime or Star Wars or whatever. And I'll be like, well, here's an example of a devotional. But instead, she told me about a YouTube streamer that she really enjoys listening to, who in some ways uses like passive aggressive tactics to point out people's flaws and stuff like that. And I had no idea who this YouTuber was, but I listened and I tried to pay attention really well. And so the way that she was describing this dude's actions reminded me of how the prophet Nathan confronted David after Bathsheba. And so I said, okay, well, I would say you talked about how your streamer does this, and he tells a story and uses other people's examples to be able to help people to see their own flaws. I was like, well, that's kind of like what the prophet Nathan did against David. And you mean 2 Samuel chapter 11? And I'm like, oh, pardon me. I did not realize I was about to get like chapter and verse. I was like, let me lace up my sandals and tighten my belt if this is going to be this kind of like fact check situation. I was like, okay, good. And we had good conversations with it, but like, it's just always one of those things. You never know what people know and where they come from and what they have going on in their lives. So it was just neat, and we had a good conversation. I think she left pretty encouraged. But yeah, it was good. When I was pulling out of the parking lot, two of my cosplay friends from Fayetteville said, were you at this show? as I passed them at a stoplight. I was like, yeah, you walked right by me. And so it's the crazy thing. Even in a show that's not that big, you can still run into people and miss people. One other thing is that this show, there was an anime convention that was in the hotel next door to the convention center. And like, but I'm telling you what someone who went there told me. I didn't go see it personally. They said that the entire anime convention was the size of the bathrooms at the Comic Con, and that the anime convention was charging $20 a person, and the Comic Con was charging $7 a person. So I honestly think we had a much bigger flood of people that were coming over to the Comic Con because they were disappointed in the Anime Con. Is the vibe that I was getting. And I even heard down to the end of it that the Anime Con started like cutting their prices in half because of it. Again, this is stuff that people were coming in and telling me. But yeah, it was a good show. It was a good experience. I didn't realize until it was all over. Sorry, I didn't realize my ringer was on, or text messages. I didn't realize until the show was over that it was not a good financial viably show. And that's whatever. Again, not doing these things to make money, but like I honestly thought based on how many conversations I had that I had done much better than I did. So when I finally like opened my cash box and also like checked my Square stuff at the end of the day to get ready to deposit stuff in the bank, I was like, oh, I didn't do great. Like I definitely didn't make my table back, let alone the hotel and everything else. But again, that's why it's ministry and not, just business on my end, which is also grateful for people who help sponsor the booth and do these things. But I was able to give some books away. I was able to give some stickers away. I was able to bless some people. And it was encouraging. I was able to buy some stuff personally from some other vendors just to help make their show go a little bit better. And honestly, it was a relaxing day. I spent time talking to people the whole day. I drew maybe 4 sketches, and like 2 or 3 of them were okay. One of them was not good, and I'll probably take it out of the book and make it disappear forever. But it was a good time. I got to see people that were kind and compassionate. I got to give some answers and encouragement to people who had questions. I was grateful to be there. TNS vendors, Tim and Sherry, they put on good shows, and they do a lot with, and they're dealing with a lot of medical issues all on their own as a family. So the fact they try and pull all this stuff off, even with the physical liabilities and limitations, is, it's encouraging, and can be pretty inspiring too. Also had a lot of conversations with people who had questions about what Fayetteville's doing with Fayetteville Fan Fest, and I tried to answer them as best I could. And some of the other vendors were chiming in as well. I saw the Brothers Boyd briefly. Yeah, it was a good experience, and I was grateful to do it. I'll do it again if I'm given the opportunity. I missed it last year because I was at Smoky Mountain Fan Fest. But yeah, I've got a week off of cons, and because I'm going to go see Five Iron Frenzy this weekend, and then the following week I will be at Wake Forest Comicon, which is now a free show and will be taking place at a Parks and Rec Center in Wake Forest. And it's a whole different weird thing. I'll have lots to say about that because just even the application process has been a bear. But yeah, that's kind of been where things are. I want to take a moment too before I go to thank our Patreon supporters for just being who you are. So Jackie Craft Cosplay, or just Jackie Craft, sorry. I don't think she's doing cosplay right now. Kelly Townsend, Alan Wallace, Fab Quack, Rivka and Tristan Birch, Dorothy Martin Winston, Michelle Stewart, Lynn Turner, David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for your incredible encouragement and support. Also, just a side note too, and this is not necessarily con related, but it is. Sunday morning was my first time back at my church in like a month because I didn't preach the week before GalaxyCon. Then I was at GalaxyCon. Then I was at another one of our church locations, kind of being a guest there. And then the same thing the following week. So I hadn't preached at my church in a month. And so I was just really glad to be there. And I didn't unpack my car from the show. I actually still haven't unpacked my car from this show. And so I was like, you know what? I got all these kids books. I'm just going to start giving kids books away. So I got like 10 of our kids books, like 5 of each one. And I just found young couples in my church and gave them copies of the kids books for Can I Still Wear My Cape and Hide and Seek, just to say, hey, here, because I never do faith and fandom stuff related at the church, but I thought these kids books could be beneficial for the children and for the families, because Wu-Tang is for children. Yeah, that was kind of how the weekend went, and now I'm back at my Muggle job and doing all the things. But thank you for taking time to listen. Thank you if you came by the show. Thank you for being there and being a part of it. I'm gonna check my photos real quick before I say goodbye in case there's something I missed with that. But I think I got everything. But again, I would think I got everything. Oh, I got to see Kathy Denise, who's one of my cosplay friends. And Deborah Lanham did the Mary Poppins thing with the whole tape measure thing, and that was honestly delightful to watch, and that was pretty cool. And there was a cool free run cosplayer there as well. But yep, thank you guys for taking time to listen, for being encouragements, and I hope to see you all at a con real soon.